Light is the primary environmental signal governing human circadian biology. The timing, intensity, spectral composition, and duration of light exposure across the day regulates cortisol and melatonin secretion, entrains the master circadian clock in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and, through downstream effects on virtually every metabolic and immune process that cycles on a circadian rhythm, influences health outcomes in ways that medicine has only recently begun to map with precision. The prediction that targeted light protocols will expand from seasonal affective disorder treatment into systemic medicine is not speculative. In several subfields, it is already happening. The most extensively studied non-psychiatric application is photobiomodulation, the use of low-level red and near-infrared light to stimulate cellular processes, primarily through absorption by mitochondrial chromophores. The proposed mechanism involves stimulation of cytochrome C oxidase, a key enzyme in the mitochondrial electron transport chain, leading to increased ADP production, reduced oxidative stress, and modulation of inflammatory signaling. Peer-reviewed trials have demonstrated measurable effects on wound healing, musculoskeletal pain, and neuroinflammation in animal models, with human trials in traumatic brain injury and Alzheimer's prevention generating signals that justify further investigation. Separately, the research on morning bright light exposure, high-intensity broadband light in the 2,500 to 10,000 lux range during the first hour after waking, has moved well beyond seasonal depression. Evidence links morning light exposure to cortisol regulation, insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular risk reduction, and improvements in sleep architecture that compound over time. The circadian alignment effects of properly timed light exposure are systemic in a way that makes light therapy as a category name feel inadequate. This is chronobiological medicine applied through the most natural intervention available. Blue light blocking in the evening hours has similarly moved from sleep hygiene recommendation into territory with documented metabolic and immune implications. Circadian misalignment, the disruption of the body's internal timing systems by poorly timed light exposure, is now associated with metabolic syndrome, cancer risk, and immune dysregulation in research that goes considerably beyond the familiar screens before bed impair sleep messaging. The serious concern in this field is the vast and poorly regulated spectrum between rigorously studied clinical devices and fraudulent consumer products. Photobiomodulation panels sold to consumers at consumer price points vary enormously in wavelength specificity, power output, and irradiance, the actual variables that determine whether the device does anything the research demonstrates. A consumer purchasing a red light panel for neuroinflammation or skin repair cannot currently distinguish between a device calibrated to the parameters used in clinical trials and one that emits light in the right color range, but at therapeutically irrelevant intensities. Regulatory clarity is urgently needed to define therapeutic light devices with sufficient precision to protect both consumers and the credibility of the science. Without it, the legitimate clinical potential of light-based medicine will continue to be obscured by a market that cannot tell the difference between a therapy and a lamp.